Okay, so on to our next story. So for this story, I'm going to change some of the names to protect the guilty, the innocent, and the stupid, of which in this story, I am all three at different times, and other people are guilty and stupid and innocent. So I'm going to basically change everybody's names just because it's been many years since this happened. So we'll start off by saying year one, just to make it easier. So in year one, many years ago, my friend Brody became on staff. He was on staff, but I was the receptionist for the staff, and I loved them. There were 55 of them that dealt with logistics, media, you name it, all different kinds of things. And so Brody at the time, if memory serves me exactly correct, he was part of the technical side of set design and lighting design. So he didn't do the designing part, but he helped implement what was designed. So we ended up kind of bonding over that. So I there at the front desk would say hi to everybody every day as they came in. Part of the rule at the time was as you're coming into work for the day and when you're going to lunch, you have to enter and exit through Kelly's staff door. So here's my office, and then it has a door on it. And then right here, following all alongside it, is the staff hallway. And like, I don't know, there's 15, 20 people in that staff hallway. And it goes back and around and stuff. But right next to me-ish, in the pretty wide staff hallway, is about, I don't know, 15 people in different offices, which will play a point in this story, I promise. So here it is in year one. We'll just make it easier. Important to note, I will tell you the details in the future, but it's important to note in this moment that in person, I actually look about 10 years younger than I actually am, which is not a big deal. We'll talk about that some other day, but that's just how it is. And so that kind of factors in a little tiny bit into this story, but really into another story another day, but it does factor in. So when Brody came on staff, he is a pretty hardcore introvert at the time, and he kind of has trouble getting to know people. Now, he is a put together person. He's tall, he's attractive, he's kind of easy to talk to, but he just doesn't know how to kind of like jump in and have conversations with people. So when we would do staff functions, of which partly often I would help plan, he would kind of be on the sidelines, like looking in on people, trying to figure out how does he start to talk to people. Well, I would see this often. I'm like, you know what, you should go talk to him. Because as a fellow introvert, though people don't believe I'm an introvert, as a fellow introvert, you know, like, hey, maybe you could help him learn how to make some friends. Because I had to go through that myself. So we become friends, and as far as I know, we are just friends. And probably, gosh, about a year passes. And every once in a while, he'll come up to the desk a couple times a week just to say hi and, you know, just talk about whatever. And it's just friendly. It's nothing crazy. And when we do staff functions, he and I usually get on the same team or whatever, or if we need to be in pairs, he's my pair, which is fine because we're friends. And also, I am married. And dude, also, like, I don't have a problem with age difference, but I'm married and 10 years younger. But anyway, so here's what happens. About after year one is over with, we're getting into the second year of he and I knowing each other. On staff, we have somebody, we'll call her Lauren, and she is pregnant. Lauren goes into labor. But at the time, this kind of throws all of the stuff that she's in charge of. We hadn't planned on her being on maternity leave, you know, obviously for like 2 months, so maybe longer. So in kind of the chaos of like making sure she's okay, she doesn't have to worry about anything, and she and I have become friends. She's over a lot of things, like artistically, design-wise, etc., as far as how things look in the building. But she's also over 2 coffee shops that are on the property. It's a pretty large property. So there's a big coffee shop and there's a little coffee shop. And so we decide like, hey, because I'm the front desk receptionist at this point, and sometimes I'm crazy busy and sometimes for hours I'm not. Hey, I could actually be over the small coffee shop in your stead while you're going through maternity leave and all of this for the next several months until we figure out something else. So that's a very important part of the story. And I've taken over the small coffee shop. So one night, it's like a Wednesday night, and people are starting to come on the property for different things. And where the small coffee shop is out of, it was a smoothie mix of some kind. I don't remember what exactly it was. So I'm in the front office because that's the only office I have. and the window is locked, but like you can still see through it. And so I keep the light off because I don't want people coming up, tapping on the glass, asking me stupid questions, because I'm trying to get some signs made saying, hey, I'm so sorry, we have some on order, but this favorite smoothie of ours right now, we are currently out of. I'm trying to make those signs. Once again, the lights are off. And the door is always open because I am the staff receptionist, so the staff can come and go at any time. This is where they pick up their parcels. This is where they put stuff in each other's files. So the lights are off. It's a Wednesday night. Brody's coming in, and he's behind me. And I haven't seen him probably like in a week or so because he's been busy doing a set and lighting install at some other location. So he comes in, he's like, Kelly, you creeper, what are you doing here in the dark? What are you doing? This is weird. And so I laugh and I tell him, hey, listen, I'm actually making some signs for, and I misspoke, and I said, I'm making some signs for the big coffee shop. And so he puts something in the file, and he's like, what? And so he's standing behind me, and he said, what do you mean for the big coffee shop? And so once again, I've misspoken. I said, for the big coffee shop. I'm over the big coffee shop. I have been like this whole time that Lauren's been gone. And he's like, what? Kelly, really? I was like, yes. And I didn't understand, like, why is he kind of annoyed or freaking out about this? And then in the dark behind me, he says, Kelly, like, if I would have known that you were at the big coffee shop, I don't even know how that's possible. We haven't seen each other, but I would have just made sure our schedules matched. And I would have been like, every shift you worked, I would have been there. And then in my mind, like, okay, whatever. And then he starts to say, because Kelly, you're just, you are the most wonderful, fun, intelligent, kind, goofy, funny, entertaining, lovely, caring, and he just keeps going on, and all the good adjectives you hope another person feels about you, he's saying in the dark behind me. And I am still married. I don't know at this point of the story that I'm about to get divorced in the next several months, and then within probably the next 9 months, 10 months. I don't know if that's happening, and I'm trying to stay faithful, etc. So in that moment, as he keeps going on, I'm like, Kelly, you gotta get out of here, because you can't be having this conversation in the dark with a coworker, and this isn't okay. So I very quickly print the signs. I stand up. Now, here's the thing. Before I finish this next little tiny part of the story, in hindsight, yes, I know I did not react well to this news, and I have regretted that ever since. So learn from my mistakes. I hope in all of these stories, you will learn from some of my stupidity in this, because this was not the best moment I've ever had. So in that moment, I also like to say though for this, hey, listen, I was sincerely going through an extremely bad marriage. So when I'm not at work and I'm at home, I'm having to navigate things that most humans shouldn't have to navigate. So I'm not exactly the best version of myself in this moment trying to think of how to navigate this. So I stand up and I just turn around, it's like, oh, you were so sweet. And I move my chair out so I can walk past him, go very quickly, grab the signs so I can put them up. It's like, hey, have a good night, I'll see you later. And I zoom out of there. Well, yeah, way to not make it awkward, Kelly. Yeah, I know. There's worse stories than that. We'll talk about later. Anyway, so starting the next day, once again, this is not how you should handle the situation. You should handle it much better than this. I don't know what to do at this point. Once again, I'm in a bad marriage. It's also important to know I have told no people on planet Earth that I'm in this bad marriage. I hadn't even told my best friend. Nobody on staff knows what I'm going through, etc. Now they're gonna, unbeknownst to me, they're about to find out in a few months. But for the moments of this story, in this moment, I basically don't know what to do, because what he said to me was it was beyond platonic. It was beyond friendship. And I didn't know how to react to it, and I didn't know what to say. So I did the most intelligent thing you could ever do, which was I totally froze him out. I mean, when I say froze him out, I mean, I didn't talk to him. I didn't make eye contact as much as I could. I'm not proud of this. I would pretend to be on the phone when he came into the office. And this went on for about 4.5, 5 months, where he eventually asked his boss, I don't think he told his boss why. He's like, hey, could I just, like, maybe instead of having to come through staff hallway, could I just go and enter through the warehouse entrance? Because, you know, that's where we get all the deliveries anyway. It would just make it easier, which was not the norm, because everyone's supposed to come to the staff hallway, so I have an idea who's there. So his boss said, yes, you can enter through the other entrance. So for a while, I just didn't see him for months. Our paths just in general would not cross. And I felt really horrible about it and really bad, but I have many other things I got to think of at this point. So time passes, a few more months. So he and I haven't really talked or spoken that much in the last 5 months. A few more months pass, and my marriage starts to very quickly dissolve, and there's nothing that's going to stop it from dissolving. And in hindsight, that was one of the best things that could have happened for me. So we'll talk about that some other day. But so as it turns out, I'm going to go through a divorce. I have no control over it. I can't stop it, etc. It's going to happen. So my boss knows all of this. I'll have to tell you that whole story some other day because it's pretty interesting and it's pretty great on how kind the staff was to me. But I'm going to have to go through a divorce. And my boss is like, listen, Kelly, the entire staff knows you. So you're going to have to make a decision. You might as well tell them. You don't have to tell them all the details, but you have to tell them you're getting a divorce, or they're going to make it awkward because they're going to figure it out eventually. And she says, I can send an email. You can send an email, whatever you want to do. And I'm like, no, I'll send the email. So in the email I send out, I just put a little blurb up top that says, hey, I know what I'm about to say is pretty shocking for everyone. It was a shock to me too, but I will be getting fully divorced from my partner, who I mentioned, within the next 2 weeks. And we will no longer be married. So I put that in the first paragraph. The second paragraph is, because I wanted to, I didn't even tell Lauren on staff what had happened or what had been happening, and I hadn't told Brody. So I ended up in that second paragraph just saying, hey, for those of us on staff who I'm much closer to, I'm really sorry that I didn't feel like I could confide in you. It was such a personal and private matter. I didn't feel like that was okay, but I'm sorry because I know this is a huge shock. So I send that out, and because my staff door is always open, you could hear a pin drop for the next 6 minutes as people get that and they start reading it. Like, it is quiet. Thank God I'm in my own office by myself, so I don't have to see anybody. Well, then after about 10 minutes, Brody comes up. Now, I haven't seen him hardly at all. And my desk is an old-fashioned, like, big wood L desk. So I have the front window and the short part of the L of the desk, and then the long part of the desk. And Brody comes up and kneels right beside me, and he has a stack of like POs, like purchase orders and different things he has to do. And so he doesn't say a word. He does not say a word. He just starts to fill out the paperwork, and every few lines he goes, and he'll do it again, and he just says nothing. That lasts for about 10 minutes. Like, he is beaming happy, but he says nothing. And then he leaves. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, okay. Like, what am I going to do with that? But at least now, he understands, like, hey, I think he starts to understand why I had to freeze him out the way I did. So I get divorced. I lose everything because my ex signed my name on stuff that he shouldn't have signed my name on. That's a whole other story. But I'm ending my marriage, but I'm getting my entire life back. And to this day, I'm happy that I did. So as we go into our story more, Brody and I kind of pick up where we left off friendship-wise. Now, I still have never, to this day, I've never even talked to him about that night where he spilled out his guts on how he felt about me. It never came up, but really, you'll see why it didn't come up. So we kind of resume our friendship, and I know that he probably may still have friends or feelings for me, but also in the meantime, from the night he told me how he felt about me to the current time in our story, there'd been a young woman that came on staff that, he started to have like a crush on her, and it was kind of obvious. And I was happy for him. Number one, she's a little bit closer to his actual age, and she's just an interesting and intelligent person. So I was just like, and plus, once again, I don't think I'm going to be getting a divorce. So I'm like, oh, good, he'll be happy. That's nice. So that factors into this here in just a second. So here it is. It's in the fall of that year. And I end up just basically, I'm trying to think here. I end up going through and becoming better and better friends with him. So much so, in December of that year, he invites me to help him move. So he's finally started to learn how to make friends. His two friends are kind of media adjacent. One of the guys, we'll call him Jack, because Jack figures very prominently in his own story. And Bill. I'm so going to forget Bill's fake name at some point. But Bill doesn't really factor into this story. So anyway, Brody makes friends with these people, and he's getting ready to go live with them, which is going to be fun. And this makes me so happy. He started to make friends, and he's more relaxed around people. It's just good for everybody. So he invites me to go ahead and come and help him pack. So one like, I think it was a Thursday, he comes up to the office like at 4 o'clock and is like, I'm moving, and you're really good at organizing things and stuff. So like, if you wanted to come over and like help me move, you could help me move. It won't just be us. Like, Jack and Bill would be there, and maybe some other people, like just a couple. But like, if you wanted to help me, move, and then like, we're gonna get maybe dinner, maybe me and Jack at Panera or something. And you don't have to, because I know you're doing design work right now, but you could like join us there if you wanted to. So at the time, as soon as I got divorced, I'm like, I'm getting back into design. So I started to work on my portfolio. So he knew after work every night of the week, I was working on my portfolio. So I said, yes, I would love to help you pack. And I thought it'll be fun to hang out, no pressure. There'll be other people there. It'll be great. So I meet them like 8:30 at Panera to grab a quick bite before we go to Brody's apartment to start packing. And when I get to Panera, Brody's on one side, Jack's on the other, and I don't think I've seen, at this point, I don't think I've ever seen Brody outside of work and outside of a staff function, like just personals. So this is like the first time. So when I get there, he's sitting closest to the aisle on one side of the booth, and Jack is sitting kind of inset on the other side. And I come up and like, hi guys. And I'm like, okay, I gotta sit down. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking that. Jack sees that I need to sit down, and he tells Brody, why don't you scoot over so Kelly can sit by you? And Brody is just going, like the same day that he smiled at me, the same way he smiled at me when I was going through my divorce, he's got that same look on his face now. And Jack is like, okay, Kelly, how about you sit down by me? And Jack moves over and I sit down by him. And Brody does not say 3 words the entire time I'm quickly eating my mac and cheese. So Jack is carrying the conversation. Brody is just like fidgeting in his seat a couple times, and he's all happy, and it's just very sweet. So we go to Brody's apartment and we're starting to pack things up. Things are going pretty well. He's pretty clean and organized, and he doesn't have a ton of stuff, so it's pretty painless. But he's just kind of quiet the whole night. He's in a good mood, and he's humming, and he's playing music, so that's nice. And then Jack is off in his bedroom, like packing up his clothes and stuff like that. So I don't see too much of Jack. But so we pack up almost everything except for the bed, which the guys come back the next day and they go ahead and take it apart, etc. So at this point, that's kind of like broken the seal on personal life. So Brody starts like asking, hey, can you like help us come unpack and set up stuff, because you're really good at that. And Brody remembers that I have a history for set design and costume design, so I'm good at making people and spaces look really good. So I was like, yeah, I'll come over. So I go over that Saturday and help them kind of unpack and organize everything. And it's like having a party. Music's playing the whole time. It's just really the 4 of us. 1 or 2 other people come in eventually, and they're helping us too. And it's just a fun time. And once again, it's a little bit more of just me and Brody. Sorry. So that same kind of thing goes on for the next, 8 months, 7 months, where we hang out a lot. And now also on top of it, at work, I'm still a receptionist, but Brody, whenever Brody's not dealing with like physical set design or lighting design pieces, and he has to do paperwork, he'll come up to the front desk and there's a chair that people can sit in for just a minute. He will sit there all day with me, do all of his work all day, and like go to lunch with me, go on my breaks with me. And like, I can't get away from him. So what am I gonna say? Go somewhere else. And he's getting his work done. Well, as this progresses, as he does this, he doesn't do it every day, but he does it often. The staff starts to like, they're not stupid. They're all grown adults. They start to realize like, oh, so this might be a thing between the 2 of them. The staff knows of our age difference. The staff doesn't care. Oh, if you're hearing a weird noise right now, in my apartment, there is a garage underneath me. The door is going up. So if you hear a humming, don't worry, that's just what it is. You'll hear it a couple times. So at this point, like the staff has started, like probably 6 or 7 different members of the staff, on occasion when Brody's not there, they'll make little comments about how cute we would be together if we were a couple and whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, I just got divorced, leave me alone. But it does make me start to wonder, like, based on what he said a couple of years ago, and based on how he is with me now, like, I think we need to have a conversation. Now, let me just pause and say right here, something that's really important. A conversation, when a girl says we need to talk, I know that it usually terrifies men. It's just a conversation. A conversation isn't, I want to marry you. It's not a marriage proposal. A conversation isn't, I think you should be murdered and die in the street. A conversation isn't, I want to have your baby. A conversation isn't usually an invitation to hook up. It's a conversation. It's, hey, here's how I feel. What do you feel? And it's just a conversation. Multiple times in my life, having these conversations or doing things that lead up to these conversations, not only in my own life, but in the life of other people, I'm like, holy crap. Maybe in your life, women freak out about the conversation, but in my life, it's been men. So here's what's about to happen, or here's what does happen. So my friend, who is a choreographer and a dancer, and she teaches dance. She and I have been friends for a while at this point, and she's been around Brody and I at different times one day, early in the day, Brody is up there just talking to me. He has other work to do though, because we're about to have a giant all staff in this big auditorium, which I'll tell you about that in a second. So anyway, he's up there. It's like 8:30. We're getting ready to have the all staff in about 45 minutes-ish. And my friend Sandra, she sees him up there talking to me, and unbeknownst to me, because she's had it at this point, she's like, Kelly, why don't you just have a DTR, like to find the relationship? I was like, no, I'm not in a rush. I just got out of a bad marriage. Like, we'll just see where this goes. But again, the staff has started to make more comments. They're not mean comments whatsoever. They're just really sweet. We will just continue to call this friend Sandra. Text Brody when he has to go back to the warehouse to get something for the all staff that's about to happen. Like I don't know what it is, something. She texts Brody, basically, which I find this out much, much later. She texts Brody, hey, listen, it is obviously that you're crazy about Kelly. Why won't you just ask her out? Everybody wants to know. But she was not wrong. People did want to know, but I never said anything because, like, we haven't even had a conversation ourselves yet. Why am I going to tell you something based on we haven't even talked yet? So here's the deal. Somehow, I don't know how, that basically ignited a mental bleep storm or firestorm in Brody's head. Join me next time for part 2.